I paid $26,000 for my sister's wedding, booked every vendor, signed every contract, and then 12 days before the wedding, my mom texted me one sentence. "You're not coming. This family doesn't want you there." They forgot one thing. My name was on every single contract. My name is, well, let's just say I run an event planning company in Sacramento. I'm 32. I'm good at what I do. 8 months ago, I took on the biggest project of my personal life, planning my sister's wedding. I booked the venue, the caterer, the photographer, the florist, the lighting team, the string quartet, the DJ, the cake designer, the shuttle service, the custom stationery, every single vendor signed in my name on my card. $26,000 my money. My contracts, my name. 12 times. And then 12 days before the wedding, my mom sent me one text. My dad sent a follow-up 3 seconds later. "You're not coming to the wedding? This family doesn't want you there. You make us look low-class just by being there." I was sitting at my desk. The wedding binder, 8 months of work, was open right in front of me. I closed it, put my phone face down, and sat very still, because something had just become very, very clear. They had removed the guest, but I wasn't just a guest. I was the architect, and nobody had asked me for the keys before changing the locks. This is what happened next. Please take a second to subscribe to the channel. It tells me that these stories matter. And as you listen today, drop a comment down below. Tell me if you've ever been in a situation where your boundaries were tested. I should tell you a little about my family, because none of what happened makes sense without it. My parents worked hard. My dad drove delivery trucks most of my childhood. My mom cleaned office buildings, then moved into admin work. We weren't poor. We weren't wealthy. We were the family that understood the difference between needs and wants, and because that difference had real consequences, I absorbed that completely. I started working at 16. I managed events at a hotel by 22. By 26, I had my own company. My sister is 3 years younger. Same house, same parents, same lessons, completely different conclusions. Where I learned, work hard, build something, be proud of what you earn, she learned, get out, marry up, find the door that leads somewhere else. And when she met him, old money, quiet confidence, never had to worry a day in his life. She had found her door. My parents were thrilled in a way that was almost embarrassing to witness. Not just happiness, relief. The relief of a family that had been anxious about its place in the world for decades, suddenly seeing a way up. And when his family entered the picture, with their jewelry and their measured voices and their very particular standards, my family began editing themselves. I watched it happen in real time. My dad stopped telling certain stories. My mom started over-explaining things she didn't need. 2. They became careful in a way they had never been around me. And I became a problem. Not because I said something wrong. Not because I offended anyone, but because I did not edit myself. I was direct. I was confident. I took up space. His mother made some comment. Nothing direct. Nothing she could be confronted about. Just a tone. A particular quality of silence after I spoke at one of those early family dinners. Small glance between her and her husband. My family read that glance, and they made their decision. Now here's the part they never thought through. They were in the middle of removing me from the guest list, but they hadn't looked at the contracts, not once. Let me tell you what I actually built for them. When the engagement happened, there was no plan. No budget, no vendor list, no timeline. Just excitement and a vague idea of something beautiful set with absolutely no infrastructure to get there. I stepped in the way I always step in when my family needs something. Quietly, completely, without waiting to be asked twice. I sat down with my sister in my office. She came with a coffee and a list of things she'd saved on Pinterest. I asked her the right questions. She talked for an hour. I took notes, built a spreadsheet, created a production timeline working backward from the wedding date. Then I started making calls. The venue, a converted estate outside Sacramento, manicured grounds, a ballroom for 300, the kind of place that makes guests feel like they've stepped into a magazine. $8,000 deposit, my card. The caterer, a company I'd worked with a dozen times. Exceptional food, flawless service. $4,000 deposit, my card. The photographer, the one everyone in this city wants and almost no one can get. 16-month wait list. But I'd sent him 3 referrals. He said yes. $3,500 my card. Then the florist, the lighting company, the string quartet, the DJ, hair and makeup, the cake designer, the shuttle service, custom stationery, my own day of coordination team, 3 of my employees paid from my own company budget, every contract, every deposit receipt, my name, my email, my phone, primary, contact field, me. 12 times. I did not do this as a strategy. I did not do this with any thought of leverage or protection. I did it because I was the professional, because the vendors trusted me, because this is how I work, completely, thoroughly, with my name behind everything I do. By the time the last contract was signed, I had committed $26,000 of my own money. My family had committed nothing. No one had once asked how much this cost me. No one said, let us contribute or we'll pay you back, or even, are you sure? I told myself it was a gift. 8 months later, reading that text, I started to understand the difference between a gift and an extraction. A gift is something you give freely. An extraction is something someone takes while you're busy calling it a gift. And here's the thing that nobody, not my mother, not my father, not my sister, had stopped to think about. Every vendor in the state of California had one name on file, one number to call, one card on record, one signature on every cancellation clause. Mine. They had just removed the only person the wedding couldn't function without. So, the text. Let me walk you through those 45 seconds slowly, because I think those 45 seconds are the most important part of this story. I read my mother's message. You're not coming to the wedding? This family doesn't want you there. Then my father's. You make us look low class just by being there. I put the phone down, and I just sat with it. There was no flood of adrenaline, no impulse to call, to type, to respond. There was instead a very particular kind of stillness, the kind you get when something you have half known for a long time becomes fully visible. I had known on some level for years that I was loved in my family in a particular, conditional way, that I was most valuable when I was solving something, that the warmth ran warmer when I was useful and cooler when I wasn't. That text completed the knowing. And then, once it was complete, I felt something I did not expect. I felt free, not happy, not vindicated, just free, because there is something genuinely releasing about no longer having to pretend, about the lie finally being spoken out loud by the people telling it. Then I went to the bathroom, locked the door, turned the tap on, and cried for 10 minutes, because I had genuinely loved planning that wedding, not for credit, because I am good at what I do. And there is something deeply satisfying about pouring that into someone else's most important day. Then I washed my face, went back to my desk, and made a decision. Not a loud decision. A very quiet one. I went to my printer, printed every vendor contract, every deposit receipt, every email, confirmation, put them in a new folder, labeled it with the wedding date, put it in my desk drawer. Then I went home, made dinner, and went to sleep. Because I had decided something, I was going to let the silence do the work. Here is the thing about being the only person who knows how something works. When you go quiet, everything stops. And I was very, very good at being quiet. Day 1, I did not reach out to anyone in my family. A vendor email came in from the lighting company. A technical question about electrical access. I answered it. Professional, detailed prompt. Nobody in my family knew it had arrived. Nobody in my family knew I had answered it. Day 2, my mother sent a follow-up text. Warmer this time, slightly uncomfortable, the way people sound when they've done something wrong but aren't ready to say so. She said it was just better this way for the day itself. She hoped I understood. I read it twice. I did not respond. Day 3, my sister called. I did not answer. She left a voicemail, breezy in that way she has when she's trying to make something uncomfortable seem comfortable. Ending with, I hope you're not upset. It's just complicated right now. I listened to it twice. I saved it. Day 4, the caterer emailed. They needed the final dietary restriction list and wanted to schedule a call. The email came to me. Only me. I replied that I was in the middle of a situation and would follow up within 48 hours. That there might be some adjustments to discuss. Deliberately. Vague. Deliberately open-ended. Day 5. The venue coordinator called my cell. They needed to confirm the final guest count. I said I was dealing with a family matter and would call back by end of week. I asked them to hold off on confirming anything until they heard from me. She said, "Of course. Take your time. She's, known me for 2 years. She trusts me completely." My family did not know that call had happened. Day 6. The photographer texted asking for the wedding day timeline. I told him the timeline was still being finalized. He said no problem. He trusted me. They all trusted me. Day 7. My father called. I watched my phone ring. I let it go to voicemail. He didn't leave one. Day 8. Something shifted. My sister called again, but the breeziness was gone. Something careful. In her voice, trying to sound casual and not quite managing it. She said, "Hey, do you have the vendor contacts handy? Mom has been trying to reach the florist and doesn't have the number the moment it clicks for them." I sat with that message for a long time, because I understood exactly what it meant. Someone had tried to contact a vendor directly. The vendor, not recognizing the caller, not having them on file, not having any contractual relationship with them, had directed them back to the primary contact, me. My family was beginning to understand that something was wrong. They didn't know exactly what yet, but they could feel it. Like a current underwater, before you see it. The wedding was running on me, and I had gone quiet. Day 9, my mother called 3 times. On the 3rd call, I answered. Her voice had a quality I had almost never heard from her. Something thin. Trying very hard to be in control and kept slipping. She asked if I had spoken to the vendors. She mentioned that the venue had apparently called the house. Looking for someone? Looking for me. I let her finish. Then I said very calmly, "Mom, every vendor contract for this wedding is in my name. Every deposit is on my card. Every vendor has my contact information and only my contact information. Nothing can be confirmed, changed, or finalized without me. I think we need to have a real conversation. The 3 of us." Silence, long silence. Then very quietly, "Okay." We met at my parents' kitchen table on day 10. My mother was there. My father was there. My sister was there. Her fiancé was not, which I think was the right call on someone's part. I came alone. I came with a folder. I sat down at that table, the same table I had eaten breakfast at for 18 years, and I placed the folder in the center. I did not open it immediately. I looked at all 3 of them, and I said, "Before we talk about anything else, I want everyone in this room to understand what exists." Nobody said anything. I opened the folder and slid it toward the center of the table. Printed copies of every vendor, contract, every deposit receipt. A 1-page summary. Total amount committed. Total amount non-refundable. Vendor names, contact info, every cancellation policy. $26,000, my name 12 times. My signature 12 times. My mother looked at the papers. She did not pick them up. My sister looked at them, and something moved across her face I had never seen before. The full weight of what she had let happen, landing on her all at once. My father opened his mouth and closed it again. My mother said, "We had no idea it was all in your name." "I know you didn't. That's why we're having this conversation now instead of the morning of the wedding." My sister, voice small, "Are you going to cancel everything?" I let that question sit in the air for a moment. "No, I am not here to destroy anything. I am here to make sure we are all clear about what is real." Then I told them my terms. And I want to be clear, they were not punishments. I had 2 conditions. That was it. 2, 1, I attend the wedding as the sister of the bride, seated properly, acknowledged as family. 2, a written acknowledgement, private, just for Mia, that I had funded and planned this wedding. Not for leverage, just as a record. Something that told the truth. My mother looked at me for a long time. Then she said, "You should have been invited from the very beginning." My father said my name, started a sentence, didn't finish it, looked at the table. I think that was as close to an apology as he knew how to get. "Of course you'll be there." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I looked at her. I believed her, and I did. Here's something I want to tell you about the days that followed. I confirmed every booking. I finalized every detail. The photographer got his shot list, 12 pages. Meticulously organized every moment of the day mapped out. The caterer got the complete dietary restriction list, service timeline. Confirmed to the minute. Florist confirmed. Lighting team briefed. My own coordination staff, given their full assignments. I did my job. Completely, professionally, without cutting corners. And people ask me why. After everything they did, why did you still make it beautiful? My honest answer, because it was my work. Not my family's work. Mine. I had designed something. I had made promises to vendors I respected. I had put my name on 12 contracts, and I take my name seriously. When your identity is tied to craft, to excellence, to showing up completely, you do not sabotage your own work because someone hurt your feelings. You finish it. You make it extraordinary. And then you walk away with your head up. The day arrived. I got dressed alone, in my apartment, in a room I had to myself. I drove to the venue I had booked. I walked into the space I had designed. I watched the team I had hired move through it with precision. The florals were exactly what I had envisioned. The lighting was exactly what I had specified. The room looked like something from a magazine. Because I had made it look like something from a magazine, when my sister came out in her dress, and she was genuinely, undeniably beautiful, I felt something real. Something uncomplicated by everything that had happened. I loved her. I had always loved her. That had never been the question. His family arrived mid-afternoon. His mother moved through the space the way she moved. Through every space, the ease of someone who has never had to perform for a room. She moved through the florals, the reception hall, and then she stopped. I watched her stop. She said something to the venue coordinator. Gesturing at the space, the lighting, the archway, she had the look of someone who had expected to be tolerating something, and had found themselves genuinely impressed instead. The coordinator said something back. His mother turned, looked across the room, found me. I was standing near the entrance, holding a clipboard I didn't need, watching everything run exactly as I had planned. She looked at me for a moment. Then she raised her glass, slightly. A small, precise acknowledgement. I held her gaze. I smiled. Not a triumphant smile. Not a told-you-so smile. Just the smile of a professional who knows the work is good. And then I went back to my clipboard. The weeks after the wedding were not a movie ending. My family did not transform overnight. My mother did not sit me down and fully account for every way she had failed me. My father did not find the words he couldn't find at the kitchen table. What happened was slower. My mother started calling more. There was a new quality to the calls, less assumption, more questions. She started asking about my work, my life. Not everything, but different. My sister sent a message 2 weeks after, longer than she usually writes. She said the night had been more beautiful than she had imagined. She said she knew who had made it beautiful. She said she was sorry. I know sorry isn't enough. I just wanted you to know that I know. I read that several times. It's a start, because it was. But here is what I really want to tell you. And this is the part that matters most. In the weeks after, I asked myself something I had been avoiding for a long time. Why had I kept giving money, time, skill, energy, love unto people who had treated me as useful rather than beloved? The honest answer, because I had convinced myself that if I gave enough, eventually the love would come back in the same measure. I had been treating love like a savings account, making deposits, waiting for the balance to grow. What I had not understood, what I understand now, is that you cannot deposit your way into being loved by people who have already decided what you are worth. I was not a person to them in those moments. I was a resource. And the most important thing I did in this whole story, more important than the contracts, more important than the folder, more important than any of it, was the moment I decided that was not enough. Love that is only available to me when I am solving something is not love. It is employment without pay. And I had worked for free long enough. Before I go, I want to leave you with 3 things. 1, the people who tell you that you make them look low class are almost always afraid of what you make them feel. My presence made my family feel things about themselves they weren't ready to face, about where they came from, about what they had needed to pretend to be. I wasn't the problem, I was the mirror. People destroy mirrors when they don't like what they see. Don't be ashamed of being a clear mirror, too. Setting a boundary with family is not betrayal. I did not cancel the wedding. I did not destroy anything. I said, I will help you, but I will be included. I will give, but I will be acknowledged. That is not cruelty. That is the minimum. That is the floor of self-respect. If someone describes your floor as a ceiling, as too much, as demanding, as difficult, that description tells you exactly what they needed you to be without. 3. Keep your receipts. Not as weapons. Not as leverage. Keep them because your truth deserves to exist somewhere. I did not put my name on 12 contracts to protect myself. I did it because I am thorough, because I am professional, because I take my work seriously. But when someone tried to remove me from my own story, the paperwork told the truth. Quietly, without drama, without argument. The receipts you keep become the evidence that stands when someone tries to rewrite the record. Keep them. So that is my story. I am still the person who owns the company in Sacramento. I am still the one who handles things. Still thorough. Still professional. Still the person who shows up with solutions. But I am something else now, too. I am the person who knows her own name is on the contract and who will never again hand someone else the keys to something she built and pretend she's just a guest in it. If this story meant something to you, if something in it felt familiar, leave a comment. Tell me what part landed. Because I know I'm not the only one who has poured love into people, who received it as a service. This one is for all of us.